The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Edge Boost, the bank account built for better. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with promo code SGPN and get a $25 deposit bonus. Yes, sir. We're back with another edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. No, me, no voice, no guys, me. Really raw. Oh, whoa, I messed that up. It doesn't matter. Let's go. Brain fart. Didn't know what was going on there, Scott. I'm doing a million things here at one time. But, of course, I got Scott Studio Reichel here with me to break down Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Scott, what's going on?
Scotty, beat me up.
Surprise.
Yeah, can't complain. Looking forward to the game tonight. Should be fun. Game 1 should be a fun series. Both series look pretty good. So once again, looking forward to it. But either way, the final actual waiting is over. We actually have games again. So looking forward to it.
Yes, very much so. The waiting is over here. 4 teams left, and none of which have had an NBA championship in the last, 2025? Knicks was 73. So what's that, math in public? 50 years?
Yeah, give or take. 50, 51, 52. It's been a long time.
And then everybody else has never had a championship. So it's going to be interesting. Will SGA be the person to bring a championship to Oklahoma City and not Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook? Will Anthony Edwards bring a championship to Minnesota and not Kevin Garnett or Kevin Love? I guess we could say that.
You're only saying basketball. You can talk about any Minnesota team at this point. You're the Twins in like the 90s. You haven't won anything either in 30-something years.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, and of course OKC hasn't won anything because, like, what other team do they have? And then we got Indiana. I mean, you had the Fever back in the day. What was that, 2012? The Fever won the championship?
Somewhere around there.
No, but anything else?
No.
Does anybody else in Indiana won anything?
Colts did against Devin Hester, but that was in the...
Oh, okay.
That was in like the mid-2000s.
All right. We'll give you that one. Okay. So Indiana might have some. So clearly they don't need the win. They don't need it. They've had a championship this decade.
Yeah.
They don't.
Well, not this decade, this millennium, but yes.
You're right. Decade is 10 years. I'm thinking of 2000 since 2000. You're right. This millennium.
See, Meech, that's a separate question. Do the Sonics actually count in this exercise, or are they separate? Because I would.
Nah. I mean, I'm sure there's some Seattle fans. I'm sure there's some Seattle fans that are still OKC fans, but like,
it's not the same.
It's not the same. No. Because that's like, what is that like? I feel like that's like something else. I don't know what it's like, but it's like something else. All right. We got one game to talk about here.
Yeah.
No, what'd you say? You go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm trying to think of comparisons, but like Expos to Nationals, but that's the Nationals winning. But it's kind of the same idea.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know if I'd count that if I was a fan of the previous location. And then
or
they
like
moved.
the San Antonio, was it Stars? What was their name? I don't know. Whatever the WNBA team, the San Antonio team was before they were the Aces. They won championships, and then they became the Aces and won more championships.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Scott, like I was saying, before we get to the actual game breakdown, we got four young studs in the league, and one of them is going to win their first championship. Let's just go ahead and start it off here because there's some people that are trying to get their bets in for MVP now. So who's winning the NBA championship?
If you're asking me, OKC.
Okay.
OKC is a team that I picked pre-playoffs, and it was mainly because of how good I thought they were. They've had some stumbles along the way, mostly in the Denver series, but I do think it was a very good, I'll use the term coming-of-age series, even though they're all fully formed adults, but you get what I'm trying to say here. The inexperience was an issue last year against Dallas. It was an issue against the Nuggets for parts of the series, like we saw in Game 1, for example, and then a couple of stumbles. But when they needed to step up, they did. I like what I saw, and I do think based on talent, they are the best team in the entire league, including depth. So based on that, I'll go OKC. Not a hot take, they're favored, but I picked them pre-playoffs. But I do think you're looking at a spot where OKC, I think, might actually have learned something from that Denver
Mm.
series, and I like the fact that the young team that got punched in the mouth in Game 7 early, that had to fight off a championship-level effort early on, woke up and dominated a Game 7. And that kind of does check some boxes that I'm looking for future NBA champion.
I think I understand because we all like OKC the entirety of the season. And I mean, this is literally the play. This is the playoff format where we said, "Oh, OKC has a really good chance," because the talks was, "Oh, are they going to be able to get past Boston? Or are they going to be able to get past Cleveland?" Well, they're out of here. You
Yeah,
don't have
pretty
to
much.
worry about that. So I think that this is the prime spot for OKC. But man, I agree with you. Pre-playoffs, I would have told you OKC. But man, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I get they play the people in front of them, but they're slowly starting to win me over.
Oh, they're good. I'm not saying that they're a bad team. I just think OKC is a different animal, so to speak. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We're still picking a competitive series. I know we broke down the series
Oh yeah.
yesterday, but I have it in 6. I know you had a 7 gamer potentially. We're not picking this to be easy.
No, no, we're not. All right, let's talk about it in just a second. First, I got to remind you about the merch store. You can get 20% off in our merch store with that promo code DGENS. Go to store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Lock in on some NBA Gambling Podcast merch, some WNBA Gambling Podcast merch. You can get all of that over there at the merch store. So go over there and tap in. Make sure you use that promo code DGENS for 20% off. Grab you some SGPN merch. Come on, it helps us out. And plus, show the people what team you with. All right, let's get into it, Scott. We've got one game to talk about. I hate when we get to this part of the season. I'm not gonna lie. Well, I mean, I kind of like it because we're
You just
getting
like having more games. I
yeah,
get what you're going with
yeah.
this.
But that's why we got the W. So shouts out to the WNBA Gambling Podcast. If you need more games to bet, go check out that podcast over there. I have no idea who the two guys that do that show are, but I heard they're pretty cool.
I heard they suck.
Damn, who you hear that from? Hey, Scott, who'd you hear that from? Who said that?
I don't know, like like an angel and the devil on the shoulder kind of thing.
Oh
You know,
shit!
I was joking.
Who said that? I didn't hear that. Oh, here we are. The Minnesota Timberwolves on the road going to play the Oklahoma City Thunder. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Timberwolves were here before last year. Did they win a game or did they get swept?
No, they won. They
won
won
a game?
Game 4 to avoid the sweep, and they lost Game 5. Because
Okay.
everyone tried to convince themselves, maybe a 3-0 comeback's going to happen. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen
It did
at
not
all.
happen.
It didn't
Dallas
happen at
won in
all.
5.
All right. So OKC is laying 7.5 here. No movement on the line at all, Scott. 217.5 is the total. That line has moved. That line has continued to climb. I think when we did the mothership pod last night, it was 215.5, and now it's at 217.5. So it's a lot of movement there. Let me dabble over here to the next screen and check the injury report, make sure there's nothing that I'm missing. By the way, Scott, I know this isn't an NBA show, but I did want to just throw out there.
I see nobody listed, by the way, for the injuries. So you're fine.
Whoa. Breaking news. Sophie Cunningham participated in shoot around this morning.
Nice.
So throw that out there. She did participate in shoot around. She wasn't just there. All right. Like you said, nothing to report here for the injury report. James Capers is getting the lead official job for Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals here. Tyler Ford, Mark Lindsay backing him up.
I do think it's kind of funny, though, and to mention the Knicks series briefly, you're definitely cheering secretly that Scott Foster gets one of these games, so he's not going to be in New York the
it's
next
like 3-0. It's like
Yeah.
3-0 or something. He's really good when the Knicks play.
Mm-hmm.
Need him. He could do the whole. Honestly, he could ref every single Knicks game.
But I'm saying, so you're happy that he's not doing this game. He's more likely
yeah,
to be
he can stay. He can stay in New York for the rest of the playoffs. For real. He got games to make up. Honestly, if we be for real, because we had you contracted for a certain amount of games, and that injury don't mean that you not working them games. So
yeah,
he can definitely lock in on that. All right. What are we doing here? Laying 7.5 with Oklahoma City Thunder.
Well, in the Mothership Show last night, we did disagree a bit, at least for the sake of, I
I
would
can admit that
say,
I can be swayed.
it, I think I could be too, but I do think at the end of the day, people are focusing a lot on the rest disadvantage that OKC has because Minnesota got a flawed team. Who cares? In the Warriors, they got them out there in 5, and OKC had to fight for the final game, and then eventually they blew this team out and were able to beat Denver by what felt like 80 points, and they were able to win Game 7 easily while benching the starters for pretty much all the fourth quarter. However, I do want to remind everybody that there were 2 teams off Game 7s and both teams actually won Game 1. The Warriors had a war. They ended up winning Game 7 against Houston, came out, beat Minnesota by about
Mm-hmm.
20. Curry played a quarter, and he got injured. And then you had the Nuggets against the Clippers, and the Nuggets went to Game 7, tough series. They won, came out, beat OKC on the road. So we have seen 2 teams with rest disadvantage in the spot before, and both teams did win. So I don't actually care much about the rest at all for the sake of this because it's been proven, small sample, by the 2 teams in the exact same spot that having the rest doesn't actually result in an advantage. So based on that, I like OKC in this game. The crowd window is going to be crazy, but I do think OKC is a much better team than the 2 teams that the Timberwolves faced off against. I do acknowledge that Denver was a flawed team based on injury, but I do think Minnesota and Denver are both solid. I do think that OKC can use their depth to really overwhelm Minnesota over the course of the game. And I do think the Thunder's amount of size in the interior is definitely a unique challenge that Minnesota has to deal with because Minnesota had the Lakers and the Warriors, 2 teams with no depth and most importantly, no size. The Lakers tried Jackson Hayes about 5 minutes a game as their starting center. And then you had the Warriors, who were using Looney for a bit, Quentin Post. You're throwing in Draymond at center most of the time. I do think Hardenstein and Chet being there is a serious obstacle
Mm-hmm.
because it's unlike anything that Timberwolves had to deal with in the postseason so far. And yes, I know it's not their fault that an easy draw in hindsight, and they beat who was in front of them. Good for Minnesota for being here by winning both series in 5. But I do think people now might be overrating the spot for Minnesota because of rest advantage, when so far in the playoffs it's meant nothing in game 1. So I'll go with the Thunder at home minus 7.5. I think personally they got past the obstacle in Denver. Think they'll come out focused, knowing we can't afford to blow game 1 at home again with this crowd environment. I think the Thunder look good in game 1. I'll take a minus 7.5.
Mm.
It's not the
Man,
easiest game to break down here at 7.5, but that's what I came
one
up with.
out, one I'll throw out there. I do appreciate the. Well, is this really as big of a gap between? Yes, it is. Okay, so I will say I do appreciate this game starting at 8:30. That gives us an hour and a half with the W before the NBA rears its ugly head in the game. So here's my issue with OKC is that as on everybody was in the last game, I feel like what I've seen from the Denver series is not a team that I didn't think could compete with Denver, but a team that just wasn't consistent enough over the course of an entire series. And maybe the zigzag theory starts game 1 with OKC, and then it goes Minnesota. And so that's really just the only pause that I have here is that you kind of get stuck in the beginning of your zigzag theory because you have to figure out where's the first,
Yes.
is it zig or zag, and where is it starting at? And so I'm not
Is
heavy.
this is taking OKC though a zag? Because it feels like a lot of people love Minnesota in this game, and I am a bit concerned about how many people like Minnesota in this game.
It could be a zag. It very much could be. 7.5 is a lot of points.
Yeah.
Like that's over 2 possessions, and that's immediately what I thought. Man, that's a lot of points. And I think maybe I'm getting stuck in the Denver series where every time I felt like it was a lot of points, more often than not, it probably was.
Mhm.
Uh, I could see OKC pulling away with this in the second half, though. I really can.
I just think people are focused so much on the rest advantage when it's meant absolutely nothing so far this postseason.
Yeah, you're right. 2-0. But it's not even just the rest advantage for me. It's the I think that Nas Reed is going to have a good game. I think that Julius Randle can have a good game.
We should mention, as you think about it, though, they faced off 4 times the regular season. It was tied 2-2. The last time they played, OKC blew a 25-point lead at home, and
Yeah.
Minnesota came all the way back. But
Oh, dude.
You mentioned
Forgot
Nas
about that.
Reed. You mentioned a couple other guys. I do want to point out, we mentioned in the show yesterday, Gobert and Randall each did not play the majority of these games. Or I know
Yep.
Gobert missed 3. I'm not sure how many Randall played in. But the
I don't
point,
even think he played. I think he might have played in the first one, but like he missed a
yeah,
bunch of those games too. Chet missed a couple of games. Like, yeah, no, and that's where I'm like, okay, what does this look like with Randall and Gobert in there? Is Gobert addition by subtraction, subtraction by addition? Like what
it might
but
result,
you kind of you
yeah.
did kind of sway me with the fact that I forgot the last time they played OKC gave up a 20-point lead.
I believe OKC in each of the last 2 meetings led by 19 plus points at one point in the game. Now they led by a ton against Denver in game 1, and they still blew that. So I'm not saying that Minnesota's dead in the spot, but I do wonder
OKC,
how much of the regular season stock do you actually put into it when it seems like both teams were missing some key pieces in multiple matchups? Because I don't know
not
if I factor that in that much.
not too much, but I still think that it gives me the layout for a competitive series.
Yeah.
And that's all I needed it for. I didn't need it to tell me who won the series. I just
Mhm.
needed the games to be able to tell me, okay, neither one of these teams are going to quit. Both of these teams are going to give each other everything. I mean, you already know it's the playoffs. You're going to give each other everything, but like they feel comfortable with each other to go out there and win some games. So that made me feel better about the series length. It didn't really make me feel better about the series winner. But you did just sway me over to a side that I think I feel comfortable betting, and that's OKC in the first half. It seems like OKC's been able to get this done. You've reminded me that they've been able to get this
Mhm.
done in the first half, and it's just been, hey, have they been able to close out the game? And I think that's the thing that I'd be sick about is if OKC got out to a big lead and they're like, okay, we just blew 2 games to this team in the past previous 2 games. Let's lock in. We just blew the game one last time out. Let's lock in. Let's finish this game out strong. And that's where I could see, a cover of the spread and maybe the starters are playing a little bit longer than anybody would have intended there. So I can see OKC definite in the first half laying 4, and maybe it's not rust, but it's fatigue at the end of the game that might get OKC if it is anything. But I can get behind you and back in OKC at least for one half.
Yeah, I do think it should be once again a fun series no matter what, but I do want to ask you for the sake of, I'll say, the matchup itself. My concern is that Minnesota might be messing around a bit with their backcourt, especially Mike Conley. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
wondering how the minute distribution is going to play itself out. Because right now, the biggest issue they're running into, Randall's been great. Ant's been good for the most part, but of course, we know that he's a superstar. Gobert's been up and down. He had the closeout game against the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
That point guard spot with Conley and DiVincenzo has been a serious problem. And Minnesota's been able to get by it. Conley's been good in limited minutes, but we know Conley's not the guy he used to be. DiVincenzo's been horrible for pretty much the entire postseason. And now you get the intensity OKC has, a very smart team, a deep team. I'm concerned that Conley and DiVincenzo might be, I'd say, a targeting point for OKC, both offensively and defensively. And I'm wondering what counters Minnesota has to that. Are they going to play Conley too much? Are they going to rely on DiVincenzo too much? I'm hoping for Minnesota's sake, DiVincenzo remembers how to shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But I do wonder, OKC, it feels like they don't have really many guys you can actually target defensively, or at least maybe on both ends in theory. I know Chet wasn't that great against Denver. J-Dub was up and down. At least he was great in Game 7. Shout out to J-Dub for a good Game 7. I think there is definitely a flaw right now with Minnesota despite the success. And right now that is Mike Conley and that's DiVincenzo. Is that
Mm-hmm.
fair?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Mike Conley's been good, but they just have not been wanting to stick with him.
Yeah,
I
because
think.
defensively he's been targeted, and that's a problem.
Yeah. And so DiVincenzo gets out there, but DiVincenzo can't. I mean, it's got to be nah. Like, I really think they just got to give Nikhil Alexander Walker minutes and just live with his shooting. I know that he was a horrible shooter beginning earlier in the playoffs, and he kind of caught a couple of games there where he was able to find some rhythm. But like, if he can affect them defensively, because he's clearly like out
Mhm.
of those three the best defender and it's not even close.
Yeah.
And then so if he can get out there defensively, be able to hold Cousin Shea down a little bit and then also be able to give them that 3-point shooting on the outside at the in the spacing that they need, then I think that, Alexander Walker, as we were talking about the threes, I kept sitting there saying, man, Alexander Walker, like if he could just, if it's just some type of some type of familial like urge to go out there and hoop, he could go out there and hit a good amount of threes because he should be on the court for the most part, the most outside of the guards, outside of Anthony Edwards.
I agree that he should be on the court a decent amount, assuming that he's actually playing well. But I guess my question for you and the reason why I brought it up is that a game 1 adjustment or is that a game 2, game 3 adjustment? My concern is Minnesota might just throw Connolly and DiVincenzo out there and say, we'll see how this goes. And then if it doesn't go well, they'll pull the plug in game 2. Yeah. But game 1, I expect Nod to not really get as many minutes as you think. I think that's more of an adjustment mid-series.
Yeah. You're swaying me more to the OKC side of game 1. I will admit that.
So that's something that I was just considering. But, I mean, I like this Minnesota team. I think they're good. But I do think there are some areas Oklahoma City can exploit. And defensively, this OKC team doesn't really have many flaws, if any. They're an elite defensive team.
And they really punted game 1 against the Warriors.
Yeah, they really did. Both game 1 losses were bad, but scoring like 30 points in the first half of a home game and getting blown out by 20 when they're missing their best player is not a good look. OKC was up by a lot. They blew it, but still. It goes back to what you said earlier.
It was like they had that lead in the second quarter.
Yeah.
When he went down. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they were getting destroyed in that game. So we'll see how it looks, but do we agree out of all the teams that are in the playoffs right now, the number 1 unit in the entire remainder of these 4 teams is OKC's defense?
Yeah.
I think they're the best defense by a wide margin. They're an all-time great defense, watching them in the playoffs. And the fact that they have I'd say the guys they can rotate in and out for the sake of ball pressure, Caruso, Wallace, Ant might get his, but they can make it very difficult on a lot of Minnesota guys to get to their spots. And I feel like that's an area of jump Minnesota's going to have to deal with in game 1. It's the adjustment from a good defense in Golden State to a, wow, this is an all-time great defense in the following series. And I wonder if it's going to take a game to make that adjustment.
Yeah. All right. Wow, I went and got all these drops. I didn't get the Yankee doodle drop while I was doing all of that.
You can still go Minnesota if you want to, but
no. I've been swayed.
I think their game to steal is game 2. Personally, I don't think it's game 1.
Yeah. All right. I'm on OKC. We're going chalk here. Oh, wait till Sean figures out that I Benedict.
We don't have to tell him until after the game.
Well, also, our listeners are very loyal to us. I don't think this is like the TCE listeners that go snitch on Kobe every single time he Benedicts. Our listeners mind their business.
I have good news. I have good news for you, though.
What?
Sean's not listening.
Yeah, clearly he's not. No. Very clearly he's not listening. So we're good. All right, man. We'll talk about the total, player props, all of that in just a second. But first, I got to talk to you about Edge Boost, the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums, earn cashback rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with promo code SGPN. $25 deposit is all you need, and Edge Boost will match that deposit. It's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Also, Underdog is going long for the NBA playoffs with their extender bonus. Hop in game 1, and the longer the series goes, the bigger the bonus gets. So tap in for game 1 right here, Underdog Fantasy. We're about to get to an Underdog lineup in literally just a second here, so make sure you're locked in. NBA SGPN, claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code NBA SGPN. Let's go ahead and get into that Underdog lineup here, Scott. We'll talk about the total in just a second. Well, I mean, is there anything quick on the total that you have? I'm really not there yet.
For the total, no. I'm not going to chase a 3-point line move in a game 1.
Yeah.
I think it's under a pass for me. Yeah. Shout out to the Wings game yesterday, by the way, because that was a massive movement to the over. And they combined for what felt like 10 points in the entire second half in the game.
Oh, dude. But... So I can't remember the exact, but it was at least 90 plus points in the first half. In the first two quarters, the Storm had 25 and 30 points in the first two quarters. The entire second half, they had 23 points.
And they still won and covered the game.
Dude, what?
Yeah.
What?
I
Talk
think
about a
they
sweat.
combined for like 50 points in the second half. It
I
was
want you
really
to
bad, but good for us.
I want you to know I was watching because I ended up placing a bet on it. I was watching the live total just climb. It got to 182, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
182, and it didn't even end up beating the total of 166. 182 was the highest in-game total. That's crazy.
I would say my cutoff, it wasn't even close. It landed 150, I think. But the point is, I do think, for the sake of totals and chasing, I think my cutoff is usually like 2 points.
Yeah.
If I miss 2 points on one side, I just don't feel good about backing it because I feel like I missed all the value already. I don't mind technically a sell high spot on this total at 217.5. I will go with the under, but maybe a team total over for OKC if you want to play it that way instead. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to chase a total in game one of the Western Conference Finals where both teams are still young. Minnesota's been there before. OKC hasn't. But I don't want to chase a total here. I'll go with the under.
I was going to talk about a Minnesota team total under, if anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. All right. Underdog. What do we like here, Scott? We got to find some player props for this
Mentioned
game.
it on the Mothership show, but I'll run back SGA points. He's been that good against Minnesota in the last couple of years. I think I have to.
All right, I'm cool with that. He has been killing Minnesota. I think we talked about it yesterday too, with how good SGA was against Minnesota.
He has, but since of course you might not have watched the Mothership show, I'll actually read off the points again. He's had against the Timberwolves recently. So reading off the numbers, the last two meetings, 39 and 37. Game before that, 24. Game before that, I'd say 5 games before that, 40, 37, 33, 34, 32. He scored at least 32 points in 7 of the last 8, at least 33 points in 6 of the last 7. So he's been insane against the Timberwolves. I'll take Shea. And he was great to end that series against Denver. Give me Shea higher on his points.
All right. I would like to throw Naz Reid into the bucket.
Okay.
Let's look at Naz Reid's last few games against the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's had 22, 22, 27, 19, 9, 18, 6, and 15. Now, is he going to get all of that? Maybe not, because you got to remember those games were without Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. But I think even half of Naz Reid, if he gets half of 22 points, we still get over 10.5 here. I mean, higher than 10.5 here, Scott.
Yeah, the math checks out. Yeah, that sounds right.
Appreciate it. So I think that I would just like to go ahead and stick with Naz Reid here. I think that his athleticism around the rim is going to be very difficult for OKC to guard, especially the backups in OKC. When they start running that smaller lineup, that's going to be the one that Naz Reid eats in. So give me Naz Reid higher 10.5 points here.
Yeah, I'm going to throw in the Caruso steals play. Give me the higher on Caruso 1.5 steals. I think it's a great overall spot for him. He's gone higher than this number in each of the last 2 games. We know that OKC has turned him into a vital piece of this team, and they're going to need him on the court. Plus, he's gone over this steals total in 4 straight against the Timberwolves.
Okay.
One serious flaw this team has in Minnesota, they turn the ball over a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They can be very careless with the basketball, and with the intensity OKC might show defensively, like we saw in Game 7, for example. Caruso will be heavily involved in that. So give me Minnesota having a bunch of turnovers. OKC turning that into transition chances, but I do like Caruso higher on his 1.5 steals because of the potential turnover issue Minnesota might run into over the course of this series.
All right. SGA higher, 31.5 points. Naz Reid. Again, by the way, if you run into a Minnesota fan, wherever you may be, we have listeners everywhere. I'm pretty sure somebody runs into a Minnesota.
You don't have to say hi. You only have to say 2 words.
Naz Reid.
Naz Reid. That's it.
That's it.
That's all I have to say.
Just say Naz Reid.
It's like being a member of a cult and the password. That's what it is. You just say Naz Reid.
Hey, what's today's mathematics?
Yeah.
Nas Reed.
Nas Reed. Thank you. It's like a sign. It's like one of us. Like, you just say the 2-word phrase and that's it.
Nas Reed, my brother. Nas
Yeah.
Reed.
Nas Reed. Yeah.
That
Huh?
is crazy. That is crazy. Nas Reed is really their greeting.
It really
Like they
is.
just Nas Reed.
Nas Reed. Nas Reed.
I gotta get over to
Nas Reed to
Minnesota,
you too.
man.
Yeah, thank you.
I cannot wait to run into a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to run into a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. I never run into a Timberwolves fan. Can't wait to do it. Caruso, higher 1.5 steals. Nas Reed higher 10.5 points. SGA higher 31.5 points. That is an underdog lineup. Add it all up, shake it up, and you get 6.42x. $100 gets you $642 over there at Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you use that promo code NBA SGPN. And we'll get to lock dog picks in just a second. Got to talk to you about Rhythm. Rhythm, home of AI back picks and props where you can dominate the NBA playoffs with Rhythm. Let's look over here, Scott, and let's see what the Rhythm has going for the player props here.
Well, you pull that up, by the way. I'm asking, are you merging both ad reads into one?
No.
Okay.
So technically, there was a break there where we did an underdog lineup.
Okay.
And then there's another ad read.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then we're going to close the show out and get up out of here.
Okay.
So
I'm wondering, for editing purposes, I'm wondering if we might want to space maybe a couple of those ads out after the lock.
Oh no. The
we didn't
underdog lineup.
We didn't do player props yet, so we can still do player props. And
So that's I guess we could talk about more. We could talk about more player props for sure.
Okay, just saying. Because in
I
theory,
felt like the player prop. I felt like I merged the player prop discussion with the.
Yeah, I know you did, but as the
lineup.
editor of the pod, I was hoping you would go back to player props, so I'd have actual separation.
All right. No. I felt like what? I felt like there was separation there. I felt like there was that separation there for a second.
I thought that was mid ad read. That was kind of why I was wondering.
You know what? Now that I look at it, the underdog. So if the underdog ad read was before.
Yeah,
I love pulling back the fourth wall. By the way,
yeah, I'm just
so
saying.
if the underdog ad read was before, and then it would have felt like there was a gap there. But okay, I understand.
You went straight into Rhythm from that, so we might need the player prop buffer in between.
Okay, I understand. I understand why that would be talked about. Let's go to the chat. Let's see what the chat's talking about. Chet double plus 135.
Do you like Chet in this matchup, by the way? Because Chet, we know, has had some up and down numbers against Minnesota. He was, for the most part, not very good against Denver.
Yeah.
But of course, it's matchup based. We'll see how it goes. I know both of us do not like Rudy Gobert in the series.
No, I think Chet actually can have a good game offensively, just maybe not the boards. Maybe the boards fall a little bit short. But if you tell me Chet had a 20-point game at some point in the series, I'd be like, you know what, that makes sense.
I'm wondering if Gobert is going to actually try Chet at the rim, because Chet blocks I thought about, but I think I would prefer to maybe just go with Gobert under points instead if I had to talk about those two options. But Chet, if you want to actually mention head-to-head history, he has had at least 3 steals and blocks in 4 straight games against Minnesota, and you can get over 2.5 SB at minus 130.
Well, and his arms are long, so he gets into the passing lanes, and maybe it's more steals. I wonder if it's more steals than blocks that he's been doing.
I'm just concerned in any of these games, Minnesota, once they deal with OKC's defense, might end up with 20 turnovers. That's a serious problem I have with the series and why I'm picking the Thunder to win in 6. But Chet defensively has still been solid, even though his offensive game has been up and down. Even the last 2 games, he only had 2 S&B, but he's still been putting up good numbers defensively. So I do see a pretty good spot for him, at least, to impact the game defensively. And Gobert might try him. We know Gobert might drop the ball, and Chet's there to intercept it. That could happen too. But just something to consider. I didn't mind Chet defensive props in this game.
All right. Oh, I got a 40% profit boost.
We did skip over 1 key piece or 2 key pieces for Minnesota that I wanted to ask you about. We didn't talk about Randall at all, and we didn't talk about Ant at all. Do you have any thoughts on those 2 guys for game 1?
So I like Sean and Ryan. They gave out Ant RA higher or over. I think that's a really good spot. Because I'm not 100% certain. I think that they're going to put up a pretty solid defense and just say, hey, we're not going to let Ant kill us. And with that, Julius Randle actually might have a really solid game here. I don't think they have the size and strength. Let's say that. They have the size. I don't think they have the size and strength to slow down Julius Randle. And I think he proves pretty early on, like, oh, I was a missing piece here that we needed to be able to be successful against this team. Now, are they still successful? I don't know, but like, I think he has a pretty alright day. So I'm actually looking at Julius Randle. I might add him to the ladders on Underdog.
I am wondering who's going to actually get the assignment because we know Randall's shorter than Chet and Hartenstein, but he's also faster. So you can argue that he'll be able to get to his spots just based on quickness and triple threat stuff. So I'm wondering if J-Dub can guard him. But if you do that, then you're throwing in probably Chet on maybe McDaniels and you're hoping that he rovers. Like there were a couple ways to go about this for Oklahoma City. I'm wondering who gets the Randall assignment. Because we know that Dort's probably getting Ant. So that's why I'm wondering who you think's going to end up getting the assignment. Chet? Think Chet, maybe?
Yeah. And really that's a matchup nightmare. Now, like, when I really sit here and think about it, like, how are they going to slow this down?
Unless the argument is you tell Chet to basically force him to be a jump shooter. Randall can hit those, but you got to pick something in this.
Okay, so I made a ladder lineup on Underdog just while we were talking because Randall really should have a pretty decent game here. And then if SGA just continues to climb his normal ladder, and then throw Nas Reed in there as well, feel pretty good about that.
Okay.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to play this. I was just messing around over here trying to get my 40% profit boost for the extender. They really should get it.
For the record, by the way, Randall's at 19.5 or 20.5 points. So you can pick. But he has gone over in 8 of the last 9 games. So there you go. And they should change the name.
40% boost in game 1 here. They really should get Scott Foster's face just right here. The extender.
Do you know how happy Scott Foster's family was when they could see his dad with their dad on TV again?
I wonder what their reactions are when they watch the game. Like, oh, Scott, bad call, dude.
I've been making this joke too for years.
Oh, dude, bad call. What?
I've been making that joke for years about how like the referees know they're on TV too, and it's just like their own families just watching the game, just like that's my dad, and it just Scott Foster calling a tech on somebody that didn't deserve a tech. You know?
or when the players are threatening the refs and they're trying to, like, oh, there's my dad about to get beat up by Draymond Green.
Chris Paul loses another playoff game. That's my dad. My dad did that again. You know.
Yep.
Like one of those.
He kept Chris Paul from a ring.
That and injuries, but yes, mostly the injuries. But
all right, what else we got here? Anything else we like here? Player prop talk.
I know. Sean ended up wanting to fade J-Dub after that very good game 7, and his points are 20.5. Do we think that J-Dub is just a naturally streaky playoff player, or do we think he might have turned a corner?
No, I think he's streaky. I'm not committed. I'm not committed to winning the game 1 to figure out what J-Dub does. I'll allow J-Dub to show me what he does in game 1, and then we'll go opposite of that the next game. J-Dub is, if he feels like a perfect zigzag theory in terms of betting his props.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I just wanted to ask because people might.
And it's not his fault.
No.
He's young. Like, he just, like, this is his first time in this situation ever. Like, at least SGA's been around the block before. Like,
besides that, though, you also have the interesting dynamic when you're the number 2 on a clear number 1 option on a team, because you have to wonder when you're not really getting as much usage as people expect, you are taking the ball away from the future MVP.
Yeah.
Whenever the hell the NBA announces it in about 3 years, it feels like.
No, so why haven't they announced that yet?
I want to believe that they already had the dates predetermined and they were trying to space it out, but you got to call an audible. You have Shea versus Joker. Just announce it mid-series.
Did they give out? They gave out Defensive Player of the Year already, right?
Yes, it went to mobile.
They gave out everything.
Are we only waiting on MVP? Out everything.
Are we only waiting on MVP? What else are we waiting on?
Did they announce? Did they announce Rookie of the Year? That went to Castle in the end, or they didn't announce that yet?
Yeah, it went to Castle because they did the picture with Castle, Tim Duncan, and Wemby. Like, so they announced. Why are they not announcing?
I think they got everything except for the MVP. But
why are they not announced? Because just Brunson won Clutch Player of the Year. Who won? Pritchard won 6th Man of the Year. Yeah, why are they not giving? Why are they
I
not
don't know. They
announcing
just keep
Mr. Lawrence?
waiting for MVP, even though
Are
I
they
don't.
waiting for him to get knocked out of the playoffs?
They're trying to milk it for some reason. I don't really know.
Oh wait, yeah, no, that's really funny. Why are they waiting on this?
Heat
Like
saying
they
they
do
always
it on
announce in the
everything.
conference finals. Look, you can have one night where you announce all the awards. I guarantee you, mid playoffs, nobody's really sweating out. Well, unless you have bets on it. When are they going to announce this MVP? Like, bro, we're already in. There's only 4
I just
teams
think
left.
that it's been a clear, like, I don't remember it being a clear cut. Maybe I'm just not thinking about it right, but I just don't remember it being clear cut weeks. It feels like in between the last award and MVP.
I
Like,
just
I
think the
felt like,
award spacing is stupid. I know the NBA tried the NFL awards move where they would announce all the awards on one day.
mhm.
They got rid of it because nobody cared. Just announce the awards. Like
Yeah,
it's really not that big of a deal.
just count the
Voting
votes.
voting
Just
ended
count the
like a
votes
month
and
and a
drop
half ago.
them. Yeah, just count the votes and drop them.
Voting ended a month and a half ago. Like you can just announce it. It's fine. It's all good.
That's
But
like on a, you know how like on a competition reality show where they'll be like they'll do the whole thing like Survivor. They do the whole. They used to do. I don't know if they still do it like that. I don't think they do. But they used to do the whole thing of Survivor where you're gone and you're out in the island for 30 days and you get to the last tribal council and you all the votes are in. And then Jeff just walks away with the case.
yeah.
And next thing you know, he's in LA. And you're like, wait, I had to wait months to figure out who won.
You actually brought up a good idea though, which I'm gonna pitch to you right now. It's kind of like a soft launch here. What if they end up delaying the award announcement, but you remove the third place guy after like a week, and now you're down to 2 guys.
Oh, now we're down to two,
Like
and
you
we're just sitting
slowly
here waiting.
remove one finalist from the whatever, and that's how you
Oh,
drag it along.
Jesus Christ. Every single day. Well, you know, Jason Tatum didn't win. Oh, well, you know, Giannis didn't win. Well, we're
Who's
only
gonna
got
win
two.
this award?
Who's going to win? We only got two left.
Find out next week on the NBA award show. Like you
Next
just
time
remove some people
on
as
Dragon
time goes on.
Ball Z.
Yeah,
All right. Is that enough buffer for you, Scott?
I think so. I think it's pretty good. I am wondering though if they're going to announce the SGA MVP when they're in OKC or when they're in Minnesota. They better time it out for OKC. That's all I'm saying.
They're about to play two games. Like, just announce it right now.
Correct. Like
Like,
just
this would
announce.
be like there's already been a good amount of times to announce it, especially when the two guys that were going up against each other were playing each other in the second round.
Yeah.
But like, come on, just go ahead and announce it now. It's game one.
But don't announce it on the road because then you have the delayed cheer from the fans when he comes back. Just announce it at the actual home game. Just space it out that way. That's the last thing I'll ask for. Because no offense to Joker,
you
I
got to
love.
come back out,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh yeah, everybody knows you won it, but we're just giving you the award now.
They bring the trophy back out. It's like, all right, listen, just do this once. It's fine. No offense to Joker, by the way, but Shay's probably gonna win the award. So there you go.
You had to get your no offense to Joker in there.
Well, no, because some people still think with their tickets that Joker can win the award.
Oh,
He's
no,
not. He's not gonna win.
Yeah.
Just saying. I was me just throwing out there. More offense than no offense, Joker betters. You've been dragging your bet along for 2 months. It's probably not going to happen for you. Just throwing.
You probably got a great sweat though. Like you were up and down, and I think at one point you told yourself he actually was going to win. So
yeah, but
great sweat by you, Joker.
There's really no offense to Joker. More no offense to Joker betters who have been forced to wait this out for about 2 months by the NBA. But Shay's going to get the award.
And honestly, if you bet Joker this year, you probably cashed on him in the prior year. So
yeah, probably
you're doing all right. Rhythm. Let's see what Rhythm has going in the props market here, Scott. What is their recommended props for the day that we can get down with? Ooh, Rhythm has Ant for under 3.5 3-pointers made today.
Okay.
Interesting. When you think about it, I mean, I think it could be a rough day for him.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the game. Send
And
a
then
video.
And then Ant kind of sends adjustments, but also he just played the Warriors, and the Steve Kerr thing is probably really still heavy on the mind here. So he might still be shooting. We'll see.
I do enjoy the joke though that Minnesota's going to go into the game like, all right, let's target Kuminga, and it's like, oh wait, shit. Where's Quentin Post at? Oh wait, what? They actually have really good defenders at every position.
Yep.
That kind of sucks.
7-day free trial over there at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm, RITHMM. They also have SGPN 25 for a 20% off monthly subscription and SGPN 50 for a 50% off annual subscription. That's promo code SGPN 50 or SGPN 25. Get your 7-day free trial over there at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And I'm telling you, there's a whole bunch of bets here you can make, by the way. Just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Like, yeah, there's a ton of recommended bets here. I only gave out one. You can get a lot more over there at Rhythm. So go get the free trial now.
And they got the W if you want some extra plays.
They do also have the W. You know who also has a really, really big W going on right now? Circus Sports and Resort and Casino over there in Las Vegas, because they're giving away an amazing VIP package for your fantasy league. All you have to do is enter and try to win, because they're giving away a 2-night stay for you and your entire league. You can hold your draft in a cabana at Stadium Swim with a $5,000 food and beverage credit, limo transportation to and from the airport, a welcome party at Legacy Club, a reservation at the world's largest sports book with $500 beverage credit, and a 2-hour open bar package over there at Overhang Bar. June 30th is the last day you have to enter, so go ahead and get in today. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/CIRCA. We're also brought to you by MyBookie.ag, your place to bet every sport, including the NBA playoffs and the WNBA. Over there at MyBookie, they accept a ton of customers from a whole bunch of different locations. You can get easy deposit, lightning fast payouts with cryptocurrency over there at MyBookie. So tap in with MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. It's MyBookie.ag, promo code SGPN. All right, Scott, let's close this out. Wait, so if we switch the mojo for the WNBA, does that also switch over to the NBA?
The problem is, I don't think any of our plays actually happened yet for the W, so we don't know if that worked or
Yeah,
not.
but it was still a mojo switch. Let's just roll with it. Let's roll with it.
All right. So you wanted me to go first then?
Yes.
Okay. So for my lock, do I think Gobert is gonna suck? And a part of me is tempted to think he's gonna be really bad in this game. I'm going to. We'll go for some props. Why not? I gave out Shea points with the Thunder win on the Mothership Show. I'm not going to recycle. I'll be creative with it. Give me Gobert under the 9.5 points and assists in this game. He's gone under in 2 of the last 3 games against the Thunder. He's actually gone under this number in 8 of the last 10 games. In the playoffs, he has been really, really bad. So besides the game 5 closeout game, and actually both closeout games, he's been great. He's gone under this number in every game that's not been a series closeout game. So there you go. I think Gobert struggles, though, in the series. You're looking at the amount of size the Thunder have, the amount of intensity they play with defensively. Even if Gobert catches the ball, they're going to be swatting at the ball immediately, trying to get some steals. And with the pace they play at, it should be a pretty rough matchup for Gobert in general. I'll go with Gobert under on his 9.5 PA. I'm skipping the rebounds because maybe he does end up with like 15 rebounds. I don't want to bother. But I'll dare him to score. I'll dare him to pass. Give me Gobert under on his 9.5 PA as my lock. For my dog, I think for this one, I'm going to go with. Do I want to fade Mike Conley, who's been really good, but I do think it's a bad matchup for him in this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I actually want to do it because his numbers are already very low. So that's kind of concerning. I think Randall should be okay. McDaniels has been very good against OKC, but I do question if it's a bad matchup for him as well. But his points were at 12.5, which is kind of frustrating for me here. Let me just quickly see what I can get for the Thunder first half, maybe on an alt spread for this one. So just sorry, give me a second. OKC, okay, so halftime full time's minus 150. Can't do that. You know what? I think I'll go with the OKC win by margin, actually. I'll bank on them in that crowd environment to punch Minnesota in the mouth. Give me OKC. I'll go with the minus. You know what? I'll go minus 9.5 at plus 122. It's not plus 140, but I think they win by 10 plus. Give me OKC minus 9.5 plus 122.
All right. Let's see here. For my lock. Jesus Christ.
For the record, I might have had another play or two, but we already gave that on the underdog entry. So I'll give a different play.
SGA over 31.5. I don't care. I was debating if I was going to use an underdog entry play either, but when I thought about it, if we did our regular schedule, I would have already given out my lock before we did the underdog entry.
I
So
would have probably given out Caruso as my dog with the steals, but then we gave it out an underdog. And you know
yeah,
what? I want to give out an extra play. So there we
it's
go.
all right. It's cool. SGA over 31.5 lock. Dog. Or should I have made SGA my dog and up the points up here?
It's up to you.
My dog. I will take. Interesting. What did I just pick?
You
Nas.
just took SGA points.
Then I'll take Nas Reed.
Okay.
Nas Reed.
15?
Yep. 205. 15 plus points for Nas Reed. Plus 205. That's my dog. And SGA over 31.5. That is my lock.
Correlates with my play. Gobert sucks. They gave Reed more minutes.
Yep. So let's just be right, Scott.
Yeah, let's do it.
That'd be great. All right. With that, Scott, anything else for people before we get up out of here?
No, not really. Once again, we gave out the underdog entry mid-episode. So if you're
So
looking for that, we already gave it out.
go scope back over because
Yeah.
clearly you didn't listen to the whole thing. You better slide back over and get
Just
that.
saying, some people out there might be fast forwarding to the end, so just
Potentially.
saying, keep that in mind. But either way, should be fun. Of course, this is the first of what's hopefully a competitive series. We have the start of the conference finals. We have 4 very good storylines right now, and yeah, should be fun. So looking forward to seeing how the conference finals play out.
All right. He's at Rush Radio. I'm at Really Round __ Make sure you give us a follow at SGPN NBA on X as well.
And the W.
And the W. Lock in the WNBA as well, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you tap in WNBA Gambling Podcast. All of that. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I'm back tomorrow with Lonte to talk about my New York Knicks.
I'll be sleeping.
Whoo. We'll see how that goes. All right. With that, have nothing else to say, nothing else to do. No other way of ending the podcast. Just gonna like this. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating, review, and a like on